Hey guys, my name is Gerry Balasta. I'm the writer-director for The Solar Champion. The film component of this film is already in post-production, and what I'm presenting to you right now is the transmedia part of it. Um, when I was growing up in the Philippines, I was exposed to a lot of extreme poverty, and I've seen a lot of social injustices. So when I moved to America, I was determined to tell stories that will make a difference. And I do have a plan to achieve that, and before I can share to you that part of this project, I first need to tell you the story of Richard. In 2007, I went to one of the world's largest garbage collecting town in Piales, Philippines, and I held an acting workshop. And the residents of the dump site acted in my first feature film, which had its world premiere in this very film festival. And I went on and had a very successful film festival run. I went all over the world with it. And as I was doing that, I posted trailers and videos on YouTube and Facebook, and something special happened, and I was able to get a lot of support. So this is a clip of what happened when we got a lot of support. Richard had a medical examination for the first time in his life. His hydrocephalus was diagnosed to be arrested and stable. In October of 2009, Randy's dream for his child to walk on his feet was fulfilled. Mr. Padilla sent Richard to school on a scholarship. Richard was able to go to school. He was 11 years old in the first grade. His dream to be able to read and write was fulfilled. So this was a very exciting time for me as a filmmaker. I had about 2.5 years of film festival travel, and I was able to get enough support, and we were able to set up a nonprofit called the Mount Hope Project. And these kids right now, the 6 kids are going to school now on scholarship from the dump site. And that's Richard now, 5 years later. And that's Ren. And they both acted in The Mountain Thief. The bigger part of my experience is learning that my creative work can really make a direct impact on lives. I've seen it. And I wanted to share that. The other part of this is education. Education can really uplift anyone, including the poorest people in the world, out of poverty. And it's their only shot most of the times. And I'm especially concerned with the education of the 20% of our population. About 1.3 billion of us doesn't have access to electricity. That's about 20% of us. 1 out of 5 people can turn the light on at night. So what happens in this developing community is they use a kerosene lantern, a kerosene lamp, which is really dangerous. It causes death. There's about 1.6 million deaths. That's one death every 20 seconds because of the toxic fumes that it emits. And on top of that, people earn about $1, less than $1 a day in these communities, and they spend about 20% of their income just to have light at night. That's the challenge of energy poverty. And what boggles my mind as society is there's already a solution to this in the form of renewable energy, where we can actually harness the power of the sun, the wind, or the air in order to have safe light, and it costs less. So with everything that I learned in the Solar Champion and the Mountain Thief, I developed the Solar Champion film, which is a hybrid narrative documentary, very similar to The Mountain Thief. But this time, it's a comedy, and it's acted by the same actors of The Mountain Thief. And it's about a solar bulb that was invented from a Coke bottle. It's fictional. The second part of the whole film is a documentary about Steve Katsaras. He's a real-life inventor of a solar bulb that actually works at night. It's safe light, it saves life, and it costs so much less money. And the third Solar Champion is you, and this is why I'm here in front of you now. I wanted to present to you the transmedia aspect of the film. Thanks to your help, the Solar Champion film is now in its post-production. And we are now working on the advocacy and the transmedia part of the film. There are 1.3 billion people in the world without access to electricity. That's about 20% of our planet. 1 of 5 people doesn't have electricity to have light at home. This is Chris, and this is where he lives. His family doesn't have access to electricity, so each day, when the sun comes down, it gets dark. It gets really dark, so they use a kerosene lantern to see.
Therein lies the problem. Kerosene is dangerous. Using kerosene is like smoking 40 cigarettes a day, and its toxic fumes causes lung cancer and respiratory illness, and that's the cause of about 1.6 million deaths. That's one death every 4 seconds. And in most of these places, people earn less than $1 a day, and they use about 20% of their income just to have light at night using kerosene. So, we made the Solar Champion film, and here is the clip of it. Gusto ko pong ipaalala sa inyo ang aming pamilya. Maglalakad kayo ito ha. And eat. Babae, angat nyo ng ganyan. Bunutin nyo lang muna ganyan yan. Patay. Lagyan natin ito, wait. Idinigit natin yan sa bubong. Saktong-sakto. Maliwanag na ang buhay natin.
My name is Steve Katsaros, and my childhood dream was to become an inventor.
We gave the children of this film solar bulbs to get rid of the kerosene lantern. It makes a difference. They will be able to study at night. Education is the only way to lift them out of poverty. So the solar bulb is a solution for this problem. It gives safe light, and it also saves money. So Chris is in the film, and with the Transmedia project that we are developing, we will be able to see wishes of all other kids who doesn't have any access to electricity. This is Gloria, and with the help of Tiffany from the Girl Scout of the Philippines, she was able to identify kids in our community without any light. So in the Transmedia project, you will be able to read their story, and if you want, you can either grant their wish by giving or donating a solar bulb or uploading a media. It could be an artwork, a media work, or even a volunteer work. And this whole Solar Champion Transmedia will be the hub for it. Our goal is to be able to make this operational where people can make a wish or anyone can grant a wish and upload it in the site. That's the Solar Champion Transmedia. And right now, we're working on finishing the Solar Champion, and we're working on developing the Transmedia project to go with the film, developing the prototype, and forming partnerships with artists and nonprofits. And lastly, we are seeking more champions to help us with this cause. Champions like you to help us light the world. I hope you join us.
So this is now the most exciting part of the film. This is Christopher. He doesn't have electricity at home, and you can actually follow his story. We are developing the platform where you can see all the granted wishes. He was able to get help through our film production. This is him 2 years ago. His only wish was to have a solar bulb at night, so he can study and pursue his dream. And through the volunteers that we got from our film production, he has now a solar bulb. The other part is the work of Steve Katsaros, the real-life solar champion. He's been all over the world, and he has lighted up about 1 million lives, and we are also presenting that in the platform. And this is the coolest part of this project. You can actually see wishes of kids all around the world who doesn't have access to electricity. And we started it just through our Facebook page. This is Tiffany, and she's a Girl Scout of the Philippines, and she was able to go around her community and identify kids who doesn't have access to electricity. What I want to do in the site is you can read up on their story, you can grant the wish by actually donating a solar bulb, or you can upload a media or a creative work, to have an increase in awareness of this subject. In her case, she is blogging her experience, and we will all put that up in the Solar Champion part of the of the Transmedia. Another example is Miss New York, who heard about our project, and she uploaded a video on her own without us telling us, and she is asking people to hold up an I Am a Solar Champion sign as an awareness project. So you also can do that. And this is what's special to me, because you can see the actors of the film, and you can actually follow them and their story. And on top of that, you can actually sponsor their education so that they can graduate to high school and have better options outside of scavenging for trash. I really want this site where people can make a wish, you can grant a wish, and you can upload it in the site. As I said, we're already in the post-production of the film. We are in the development and forming partnership with the Transmedia part. And more importantly, I'm here today to recruit more champions like you, and really share my lesson that our creative work can really make an impact on lives. I've seen it, and I think with this room, we really can light up the world together, or a lot of lives. That's the Solar Champion Transmedia, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Gerry. And Jigar, why don't we start with you on your thoughts on this project?
Yeah. Very powerful, bringing light to millions around. I love how you started off and you had shown your previous work and kind of had proven that why this is something that how the NGO started and what you're doing now with it. But it took a long time to get to the actual project, and I felt that you were cramming it all in at the end, and it's probably spending a little bit too much time on the backstory. I'm very curious to know, the user journey. I think that would be very powerful if you actually honed in on one person's story in this larger transmedia project, and actually, what do I do as the user when I come to this project? How am I engaging with it? Mm-hmm. And also, I have a concern around what's your user traction? How are you going to get people to come to, whether it's a site or holding up signs or donating? I didn't see any insight into that. And just a little thing and this is again like advice for everybody. If you ever put up numbers, I would love to see the citation on that, just because 20%, it just sounds, and that's just a credibility thing for me as the audience.
Yeah.
It's a very relevant topic, renewable energy. I'm going to speak from a broadcast journalist standpoint. I feel like if you're going to do a pitch, we got to know pretty much in that first minute what this is all about. And so there was a lot of buildup in your background. So just be careful not to get so caught up in explaining how you're getting there. But start with, this is what I'm working on, right? And then maybe give a little bit of backstory so that there's context just from the very beginning. I was curious because in your presentation you talk about wishes of children all around the world, and I wanted to know if that was correct, because it seems like it really focuses on the Philippines and children in the Philippines versus all around the world, because that's a really ambitious project, right?
We through the inventor in the film, we're forming partnership.
Okay.
All over the world.
Okay. And then I just felt in general that there was so much. I'm a little dizzy from the and I love the project. It's just so much information. So I think you could cut back on some of the slides and what you talk about, so that we could, when we walk away from your pitch, that we could remember what the focus is. And then one last thing about the children holding up, I wish for a solar champion, and what their wishes are versus beyond the solar champion. I would love to know what that solar energy or that light would actually mean to them, and that should be their wish, or maybe more information on how that would impact them.
I echo those same comments around I think generally the story is great. I think this has a lot of potential. In the presentation, it's got a lot of moving parts. And I think one thing that you could do to really kind of tighten it is to focus on really what is the main goal that you really want to accomplish with this film. You clearly have a strong vision and a real passion for the social change piece of it, which I think really comes out and is very strong. At the end, I wasn't clear. I felt through the whole presentation, I had a sense that this is about bringing solar energy to children, but then at the end, it ended up being about education and fulfilling dreams. And that to me, it seemed like it kind of took it out further, and I really wanted it to remain on that focus of the solar energy. But overall, it sounds like you've got a good partnership in place. I think there's a lot of potential with the project.
Thanks. Yes, thank you so much for the comments, and I'm working with a few nonprofits, and I really should have put it up there. There's almost 500,000 in India, 30 million in the Philippines, 500,000 in Africa, and in order for me to reach that, I really need their partnership, because I will tell the story and they will kind of provide the infrastructure so that these kids, and you're absolutely right, it is really just about solar bulb, because a solar bulb saves them money for food, for education, and that's really, I'm really keeping it simple. I guess that didn't push through, but that's really my goal, and I think that in itself is a big impact, in my opinion.
All right, we have time for a few comments from the audience for Gerry and the Solar Champion. Any questions, thoughts about the project, questions about the scope? It's a bit different than another project. It's a transmedia project as opposed to the production of a film. Yeah, Jim, I think there's a...
question on is it two separate films, or is it one film that's being put back very hard?
Yeah. What happened is the formula in the Mountain Thief work, it's a hybrid narrative and documentary, but that was a drama. Now I also did a hybrid narrative and documentary about one story, Solar Bulb, but it's one film. It's a separate component, but it will, any audience that I'll get from the film will feed off the Transmedia project, so they're kind of dependent on each other. But it is one film, yes.
Great, a final question?
Sorry, what's the URL for the project?
Solar Champion movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's Solar Champion movie, #Solar Champion.
Great. Gerry, thank you so much.
Thank you.